Taiwan's Air Force has suspended combat training for its F-16 fleet after the latest in a series of military aviation accidents. Here's what we know. A recently upgraded Taiwanese F-16V, the country's most advanced fighter jet, crashed into the ocean off western Taiwan on Tuesday, January 11th. Air Force Command Headquarters said in a statement cited by Reuters that the F-16V took off from Chiayi Air Base at 2:55 p.m. on a routine training mission. The F-16V suddenly went missing from the radar screens at 3:23 p.m., about 30 minutes after takeoff, SET News reports. According to Taiwan's National Rescue Command Center, debris from the missing jet was found on Wednesday. Suspected remains of the pilot were found on Thursday. Taiwan Central News Agency reports local residents witnessed the jet plunge into the sea near Aogu Wetland in Chiayi's Dongshi Township. Another pilot and a ground controller confirmed that the plane nosedived into the water after simulating missile launches. Tuesday's crash is the latest in a number of recent Taiwanese Air Force accidents. In March, one pilot died and another was missing after a mid-air collision of two F-5 jets. In late 2020, an F-16 disappeared minutes after taking off from a base in Taiwan's east coast and has still not been found. Taiwan's state-run Central News Agency reports that Taipei has signed a U.S. arms deal for 66 F-16V fighters while upgrading older models to F-16V standard. According to Lockheed Martin, the F-16V is the latest variant of the F-16, a multi-role fighter that features advanced weaponry, targeting systems, electronics, and radar. Citing an unnamed military source, CNA reports that the F-16Vs have better weapons than the older generation J-11 fighters used by China's People's Liberation Army. According to the source, the F-16V may not be a match for the PLA's J-20 stealth fighter, but Taiwanese jets could utilize friendly early warning aircraft to contain the threat. Jane's Information Group reports that Lockheed Martin will establish an F-16 maintenance center in Taiwan with the locally owned Aerospace Industrial Development Corporation. According to Jane's, the facility will provide maintenance and logistical support to Taiwan's F-16 fleet in addition to refurbishing 140 F-16A and Bs to F-16Vs. The PLA deploys about 700 fighters in China's southeastern coast, which is double the size of Taiwan's tactical air arm. CNA cites the source as saying that the combination of F-16Vs and air defense systems give Taiwan's military a needed boost to combat the PLA's superior numbers. Citing Associate Professor Ling Ying-yo at the National Zhongzhen University, the CNA reports that China's carriers are now a threat to Taiwan's eastern defensive perimeter. CNA cites Lin as saying that the F-16Vs and anti-ship missiles will serve as a deterrent to Chinese carriers and aircraft operating in the seas east of Taiwan.
Hours after a U.S. transport plane made a rare flight over Taiwan, a group of Chinese warplanes entered Taiwanese airspace. Taiwan's Air Force scrambled planes to warn off multiple Chinese fighter jets that had briefly entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone on June 9th, the country's defense ministry said in a statement. The Su-30 fighters, some of China's most advanced jets, were issued verbal warnings to leave and Taiwanese Air Force jets drove away the intruders, the ministry said. The military has full surveillance and control of all activities in the sea and air that surround Taiwan, and the public can rest assured of our capability to uphold security for our national territory, the ministry said. The Defense Ministry confirmed that a U.S. C-48 transport plane had just hours before passed over Taiwan with permission near Taipei before heading south along the country's coast. The incident occurred a day after the commander of the U.S. 7th Fleet confirmed that the guided missile destroyer USS Russell had passed through the Taiwan Strait the previous week. This was the U.S. Navy's 7th such transit this year and second in 2 weeks, according to a report in the Stars and Stripes. The Japan Times reports U.S. electronic warfare aircraft may have passed the strait 14 times in April alone. The Chinese incursion also came hours after Taiwan's defense ministry announced the country's annual Han-Kwang exercises, which had been postponed due to the coronavirus, will be conducted in July and September, Taiwan's Central News Agency reports. The annual exercises test the country's capabilities to ward off attacks from China's People's Liberation Army.
The Trump administration will seek to sell Taiwan at least 5 and possibly 7 advanced weapon systems, according to recent reports by Reuters and the New York Times. Here is what you need to know. Reuters reports the administration on Monday, October 12th and Tuesday, October 13th notified Congress of its intention to sell 5 weapon systems to Taiwan. The multi-billion-dollar deal would include the M142 HIMARS, High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, Slammer long-range air-to-ground missiles, external sensor pods for Taiwan's F-16s, MQ-9 drones, and Harpoon Block II anti-ship missiles. The M142 HIMARS, High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, is a multiple launch rocket system on a wheeled chassis. It fires the MLRS family of munition rockets and artillery missiles. The HIMARS can hit targets up to 300 kilometers or 190 miles away and would greatly expand the range of Taiwan's artillery. The Standoff Land Attack Missile Expanded Response, or SLAMR, is an air-launched cruise missile that can attack targets on land and sea at a range of 278 kilometers or 150 nautical miles. It could be fired from Taiwan's F-16s, which would also receive external sensor pods for the real-time transmission of imagery and data from the aircraft back to ground stations. The MQ-9B Sea Guardian drone is an unarmed maritime variant of the MQ-9 Reaper. The Sea Guardian can be used to help track and hunt surface ships and submarines. The Harpoon Block II is an over-the-horizon anti-ship missile that would serve as a coastal defense cruise missile. Though not included in the reported deal, Taiwan has also been seeking to buy the M109A6 Paladin, a self-propelled 155mm howitzer. The Trump administration reportedly also wants to sell sea mines to Taiwan. Under the Taiwan Relations Act passed by Congress in 1979, the U.S. is committed to providing self-defense weapons to the country. The news has outraged China, which covets Taiwan, and says it will one day take over by force if necessary. The White House wants to sell $750 million worth of weapons to Taiwan. The newly proposed sale comes atop numerous other approved sales in recent years. These include dozens of F-16 fighter jets, ship-killer missiles, long-range land attack missiles, and aircraft-mounted reconnaissance sensors. Here are the details. Bloomberg News reports that the Biden administration has notified Congress of a proposal to sell $750 million worth of weapons to Taiwan. Included in the proposal's sale are 40 self-propelled M109 artillery units, a number of other armored vehicles, machine guns, and almost 1,600 kits to convert standard artillery shells into smart weapons that can steer themselves toward targets. The U.S. State Department says the sale of self-propelled artillery vehicles, known as howitzers, would contribute to the modernization of Taiwan's howitzer fleet, strengthening its self-defense capabilities to meet current and future threats. When teamed with the 1,700 GPS kits for artillery shells, the mobile howitzers would be able to deploy quickly all over Taiwan and fire guided shells with high accuracy at incoming ships and invasion forces. The State Department added that, in addition to enhancing the Taiwanese military's capabilities, the weapons would also enhance its interoperability with the U.S. and other allies. The proposal, brought forth under the State Department's Foreign Ministry Sales Program, will require the approval of Congress, where Democrats and Republicans have in the past united around the need for American support for Taiwan. China surprised the world on Sunday when it practiced aerial refueling during its latest mass incursion into Taiwan's air defense zone. Aerial refueling has long been considered a weak point of the Chinese Air Force. Here are the details. Reuters reports that a large force of Chinese airplanes passed close to Taiwan on Sunday, November 28th, prompting Taiwan to scramble fighter jets to track the incoming warplanes. The Chinese force consisted of 27 aircraft that included 5 nuclear-capable bombers, 18 fighters, 3 large support planes, and an aerial tanker. The aerial tanker was significant as it was the first time that China practiced a refueling mission in Taiwan's air defense identification zone. 12 of the fighter jets flew patterns around the southwest corner of Taiwan's air defense zone, just to the northeast of the Dongshi Islands, while the remaining aircraft flew in a large V pattern from the southwest corner of the zone to the southeast corner and back. China has recently greatly increased its pressure on Taiwan's defenses, sending a total of 149 warplanes into the democratically governed country's air defense zone in only the first 4 days of October. Taiwan says China is using gray zone warfare, which is designed to wear out Taiwan's forces by forcing them to scramble repeatedly. China's Y-20U tanker is a new version of its Y-20 military transport aircraft that's been modified for aerial refueling. The addition of such aircraft could greatly extend the range of China's fighters, bombers, and transport planes.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the Tomo News family. Thanks for watching.